Welcome to the Ag Inspo podcast, where we delve into the dynamic world of agriculture, uncovering the stories that inspire, empower, and drive change. Join hosts Rena Striegel and Rabou as they explore the journeys of farmers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who are making a difference as they navigate the critical work of transitioning their operation to the next generation. From navigating family dynamics to developing the next generation of ag leaders, we'll bring you the insights and inspiration you need to thrive in today's ever-evolving agricultural landscape. So whether you're a seasoned industry veteran or just starting out, get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered as we learn from best practices and a few colossal failures on the Ag Inspo podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ag Inspo. As usual, and I always say this, we're so excited, but today I'm actually really excited. We're going to be talking to Don Scribner with TerraClear. Ron today, if you're not watching the video, Ron's in a tractor. So Ron's doing farming things and going to participate from the field today. But we got to stand next to the TerraClear booth at the Ag Innovation Center in the Landis office building here in Des Moines. So we were able to see TerraClear when it kind of came onto the marketplace. But if you are following along on social media at all, you probably have seen TerraClear popping up very, very frequently recently with some of the new things that they're bringing to the marketplace. And I always say in ag, there were jobs that when you were a kid, they were the ones that shaped your character. One being walking beans, two being detasseling corn, and three being picking up rocks. So we are going to talk about picking up rocks today. So I'm really happy to have Don Scribner with us today from TerraClear. So Don, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So I've alluded to our audience today that we are going to be talking about picking up rocks, but why don't you tell us sort of the TerraClear story? What does that really mean, and how are you solving that problem?
Yeah, no, thank you. So TerraClear was founded back in 2017. So we've been going down this journey, and to take a step back, really the idea of TerraClear and what spun this all off was just a hatred for picking rocks. Brent Fryer, founder, was out in the field with his 81-year-old dad, picking rocks by hand for days on end while tractors were auto tracking by and all this technology existed in the field. And being a mechanical engineer at heart, he was just sitting here thinking, like, why in the world is there not a better solution for managing this? Why can't we use technology? And really that kind of kicked off the inspiration for TerraClear. And we'll kind of talk through it as we go through, but really it kind of started with this idea of if we could find them simpler and then come up with a mechanical or an automated way to actually go pick and remove the rocks from fields, farmers could continue to grow, and as labor challenges exist, they could still manage this problem. And that's really what kicked it off. So today we offer both rock pickers and rock maps. So the rock picker is an attachment that just goes on skid steer, front end loaders of tractors. And then the rock map can work for anything from kids that are grounded for chores, picking rocks on their iPads, all the way up into working in our skid steers, tractors, whatever you needed to be in. So that's where we started. And now it's, bringing computer vision and all this fancy AI into really making building rock piles kind of a simple and painless process, or as painless as it could be.
Awesome. So just out of curiosity, what part of the country did TerraClear start? Like, where were these horrible fields that the founder needed to avoid?
Yeah, so we have a couple offices, but I'm located in Grangeville, Idaho, so north central Idaho. The Camas Prairie, kind of right off the backside of the hillside wheat and the Palouse, right just east of Washington.
Yep.
So there's about 6 inches of topsoil and about 100 million years of rock to keep coming up year over year. So.
And it's a completely beautiful part of the world too.
So
I've gone up there on 2 bear hunts and a mountain lion hunt. I've been successful with all of them, and love your little coffee shop down by the down by the gas station. right? So we go there every morning. So, like, yeah, I think I've been there for like the last 3 years in a row. It's a completely amazing place. There's some beautiful farm ground, but holy cow, yeah, you guys are just right off of the Palouse there. And I can imagine being at the base of the mountains where you are, that has to be an absolute endless disaster with rocks.
It's good rocky farm ground, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the crops look good when I've been there. Um, so that's an interesting thing. So, um, talk a little bit about the processes that you guys have built and how you've gotten to where you are right now.
Yeah. So when we started this idea of like kind of automating the full rock picking cycle really started with, all right, the kind of tried and true method has always been is, you run planter pass lines or get some kids and you kind of choose 60-foot swaths and drive back and forth and see whatever you can see. And, from studies and everything we look at, there's a lot of rocks that you don't see. And anyone that's pulling through the field with their tillage tool or their combine later in the year realizes there's always going to be one that they miss. So the first thing we had to do is figure out is how do we detect, when there's 100 or 500 rocks in a quarter section or something like that, how do we know where they are? So we use computer vision. Today we fly a drone over the field, use computer vision, process that, and then actually geolocate and generate a map that then you can pull up in the app. So step one is to get that map that tells you maybe the intensity of the problem, and then more importantly, like where each of those are at. It provides you with a route, really like the quickest route to get there. And then depending on the stage of the season, so, post plant, you're going to be running down rows more likely, and you're not going to be driving across your field. But earlier on in the season, fall or early spring, before you get stuff planted in the field, it's going to drive you right to them rock to rock. And that was kind of the baseline for everything we needed is once you know where they're at, how much time it's going to take, now you can decide what people, equipment, what do I send to the field to actually solve the problem? And then that really starts to open it up for, today what we offer is kind of two different products. We offer the TC100, that's just a rock picker attachment. So you could have the map and then hop in your skid steer, drive rock to rock, following either your phone or a tablet. Or we actually offer and work with third-party service providers that actually do custom rock picking. So they'll take those maps, they'll generate a rock picking service quote for you, either for a single field or multiple fields, and then you can schedule with those guys or with us, and they'll actually come out and just build your rock piles for you.
Wow. So what kind of camera is on the drone? Is it, because I would have to think it would have to detect rock below soil. So what kind of camera is it?
It's a good question. Actually, it's a question we get asked a lot. So today we only detect rocks that are visible from the sky. So it's all above ground rocks, basically 7.5 inches and larger. So if you think about it, you can be in heavy residue. You just need to see a portion of the rock, but we haven't solved the under the earth problem yet. We get asked all the time. We'll continue to look and find ways to do it, but this gets you kind of that near-term catastrophic, protection. So it's really protecting combines, shallow implements. So hopefully we're getting most of the things out of the way of row cleaners and planter row units and all the other pieces that are going through in the spring and fall.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about just the technology. So you've got a map, but it sounds like this is not an autonomous process. This is actually, you have to have someone moving that equipment through the field to pick that up at this point, at least.
Yeah. So right now the map acquisition is, it's a manual process. Someone's flying a drone over the field and then they're taking that data, putting it through our pipeline, and it's creating the map. And then holistically, we're taking that map, going out to the field, and either one or multiple people are then using that to go point to point, pick up all the rocks, throw them into a pile, and then go on to the next field. We have tinkered and we are continuing to explore different ways to, automate that process further, both on the mapping side and also on the picking side. So we have played around with a few autonomous rock pickers that we've developed. It's a challenging task when it comes into the idea of actually physically removing the rock from the ground. Ron, if you're familiar with it at all, but you can have flat rocks, buried rocks, rocks that you need to think about coming at it from a certain angle that just take a lot of intuition, that humans can look at that rock and maybe have a judgment call the right way to do it. And we're still figuring out how to teach the AI and the autonomy how to be human smart.
Yeah. 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 So do you have a sense about like your system versus sending a pack of kids out? Do you have some sense of what your accuracy rate of using drones and rock picker over sending people into the field is?
Yeah, so we've done just with some folks that we've worked with over the last few years, some tests where we've actually mapped the field, had them just pick it as they would normally, and then go back and map it again afterwards. So if you go on our website, you can see some examples of some of these scenarios, but we've seen anywhere up to 65% of rocks were missed when people were hand scout or visually scouting for rocks without a map. So, you know, that doesn't necessarily seems like there's still a lot that they got picked, but when you're talking about like 1,000 or 1,500 rocks in a single field, missing 65% of them leaves quite a few potential combine busters out there.
Right. Right. Yeah, I would figure it would have to because I remember the attitude that we had. I mean, we were not necessarily super diligent. We sort of felt like if we had enough rocks, we probably did a good job.
Yeah, and we do the same thing. And it's one of those funny things, right? Is you drive up there and it's like just that giddy feeling of looking for the rock, you can't see it, and all of a sudden you're over the dot with your blue dot on the app, and then you look straight down and there's this almost invisible, like standing right over it rock. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty
Yeah.
cool experience.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about just the growth of the company. So we have a guy that has an idea. So tell me how the whole company formed. Tell me where you're at today. Let's talk a little bit about company growth.
Yeah, so we started with, I'm going to get this wrong and get somebody upset, but right around 5 or 7 folks were kind of the initial group. And really that first focus was on, all right, we want to get these rocks out of the field. So there was a lot of Lego building and prototyping and pulling apart little robots to kind of figure out like what is the mechanical contraption that actually could physically remove the rocks from the field. And that over multiple iterations kind of evolved into, if you look at our website or any of our videos, what we call the TC80 or the TC100 rock picker. So basically now 3 flat paddles that sit on a hinge joint and can go down and pick out a specific rock and basically suck it through and shoot it into just a traditional rock bucket. And really the focus there was on one, it needed to be something that was fast and it could pick, really small rocks to really large rocks. And then we wanted something that could be more of a full season use. So something that if you're in, standing corn or soybeans that compared to some of the alternatives, we could actually pick in between the plants and not, pull the plants out of the ground. Or if you're in heavy residue, we weren't bringing a ton of material other than the rock into the picker. So that was really kind of the foundation of the focus of that. And then as we took that and started learning or trying to automate the rock picker, that's really where the rock map came in, and we started developing that portion of the business. So it was really the first intention was to build basically a map for an autonomous system. And what we learned is that just being in the rock picker business, that was really kind of this attachment style business. And we really are, we're trying to bring technology into some of those like subcomponents of ag to really help with labor, help with some of the pain points that exist. And so we really quickly learned as we were just showing off some of our future tech that the map just fit into every type of rock picking atmosphere. So it didn't matter if you were hand picking or using a tractor with a real picker or using one of our pickers, the value you got out of it was time savings and quality control. So and that really shifted, and that's really kind of morphed our business into focusing on how do we go from just being an attachment company to this kind of sense and prescribed company where it's really focused on we want to